The family dynamic is messy and complicated. I'm 43 male, the oldest out of my 4 siblings. Julia, 40 female, doesn't play a part in this. She disowned the family years ago. Then there's Kenzie, 27 female, and Katie, 23 female. Our dad ran out on us, and Mom was busted for possession, among other crimes, when Katie and Kenzie were still very young. So they ended up in the custody of my grandma. If you ask Kenzie and Katie, they survived World War II when it wasn't that bad. Our grandma was overly protective and tired of taking care of kids again, but nothing extreme. Her health rapidly declined in their early teen years. I was out of state, so I wasn't a physical caregiver. I had power of attorney, so I was a financial caregiver while they took care of Grandma's physical needs. Katie was gonna drop out of high school. She barely graduated. This is important for the future. Once she graduated, she and Kenzie came to me. They said they wanted to put Grandma in a home so Kenzie could take a managerial position. Katie wanted to get out of town, go to our state capital, take classes at a community college, and transfer to their selective university. She said a teacher who knew her situation believed she had the potential to get there and become something great. They said it wasn't possible when caring for Grandma. I told them no. They've resented me since. Katie went to a community college in our town and flunked out right away. She fell into depression after her boyfriend cheated on her. After Grandma died, she went back and has been doing all right. Katie was talking about it to Kenzie and me. She said the thing that hurt was the person he cheated with was this beautiful and talented girl who actually goes to Katie's dream school. She said this girl was everything she should have in life. She had a well-rounded high school experience, parents to support her, and a great education. And now this girl has truly taken everything from her. Then she mentioned she should have been at that school, but she was taking care of Grandma, who called her every name in the book for 2 more years longer than she should have. This isn't the first time she's been tipsy and made a passive-aggressive comment. So I told her, Katie, I'm not the reason you couldn't get into your dream school. You failed out right away from community college and would have done the same thing there. You weren't ready and can't accept that. Kenzie told me I was an idiot who didn't understand burnout. Am I the idiot? At it, Grandma had dementia and there were mobility problems due to her weight. I was married at the time and out of state. I couldn't uproot my life. Of course you are the idiot. You were raised with 2 parents and your teenage sisters. As a teenager, my sisters and I were forced to be raised by an elderly woman who didn't want to take care of us. We were also forced to physically care for her while you held all the financial power over us. It's unbelievable that you have the audacity to say, it wasn't that bad. You had the financial and legal means to find professional care for your grandmother, yet you chose not to. It's no wonder my sisters resent you. You left them to take care of a heavy-bodied person with dementia, and you left them in the hands of 2 young adults who were barely capable of handling the responsibility. Your reasoning was that, before she developed dementia, she would have recognized them, but that doesn't excuse your neglectful behavior. How could you call yourself a protective grandson? It's clear that you understood how stressful the situation was, which is why you washed your hands of it and controlled the money. You didn't use that money to get proper care for Grandma. Instead, you robbed your sisters of any real opportunities. You are the reason why one of my sisters couldn't pursue her dream of going to school full-time. And yet you have the nerve to not even care about that point. You just want to be praised for telling my sister she's a failure, for not thriving in school, while also caring for a verbally abusive person with dementia. Also, you could save money on healthcare and labor. You cheated my sisters out of a better life and then had the audacity to insult them. You are a despicable and selfish person. It's no surprise that your other sibling disowned the family. They were old enough to break free from your slave labor, Grandma's verbal abuse, and our parents' negligence. You, being 20 years older than my sisters, should not have forced them to play the role of a nursing home for their grandmother, while you were off living your life and doing whatever you pleased. You are the one who ruined their lives, and your actions are unforgivable. It's not enough that you are not sorry, but you are also smug about it. You should be ashamed of yourself. As a 52-year-old man, I married my wife, Angela, who was 42 20 years ago. She had a 4-year-old daughter, Sam, from a previous relationship. Despite not being her biological father, I always treated Sam as my own child. Her biological father was a deadbeat who had visitations but never showed up. This had a significant impact on Sam, so Angela and I put her in therapy to help her cope. I had a good relationship with Sam and she always called me Dad. In 2019, Sam's long-term boyfriend proposed to her, and they got married in 2020. That's when things took a turn for the worse. Sam's biological father contacted her upon hearing about her wedding, and she started to exclude me from events in favor of him. She even uninvited me from her wedding. My wife and our children were upset, but I asked them not to confront Sam about it. As expected, my relationship with Sam has changed drastically from what it used to be. Almost 3 years after the wedding, her dad returned to his old ways. I've been cordial but cold to her. I don't refer to her as my child anymore, and she's noticed it. She tried to talk to me, but I told her I have my boundaries and she needs to respect them. Yesterday was Angela's birthday. I made a toast to her and gave a little speech about our 3 children and us. Sam started crying and asked why I needed to keep excluding her, and that she had apologized and regrets it. She left soon after, but I haven't stopped to think about what happened. My children say I'm not the idiot. Angela says I should at least talk to her. You are the idiot. I understand why you feel this way, but it's petty. Do you really want to spend the rest of your life alienating a young woman you've loved for most of her life because she made a mistake? Unfortunately, a lot of young people act like this when their absent parent comes back into their lives, and she learned the same lesson almost all of them do. Maybe have a conversation with her. You never know what kind of BS her father was whispering in her ear to make it feel like loving you is betraying him. Unfortunately, your kids don't have the lived experience to know that it's important to rise above this, and that it's messed up to teach someone a lesson in the middle of a birthday speech to their mother. That's not boundaries, my friend. That's a punishment, not the idiot. Even if she wants her bio dad's presence in her life, she doesn't have to cut you off so coldly. She even uninvited you from her wedding. She chose him over you, the father who took care of her when her bio dad didn't. I don't understand why people do this. She was an adult when she made the decision to cut off OP. I don't blame him in any way for not wanting to have anything to do with her anymore. She's just an entitled brat. Yes, actions have consequences. You can't just throw people away and expect them to be waiting when you decide to come back. That's not how life works. But she was your daughter for years. Maybe therapy could be an option for you guys. You're obviously not obligated, but maybe a conversation with her and your wife might be worth it. Hopefully it will stop her from randomly bursting into tears at family events. My wife and I both have children from previous relationships, and a few months ago, we welcomed our new son into the world. My wife's brother lives far away, and we haven't seen him since the wedding. He flew in to meet the baby and has been staying with us. This past weekend was my custody time with 2 of my children. My ex-wife said she was uncomfortable with our children staying in the same home as a man she had never met. At her request, I asked my brother-in-law to stay in a hotel on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night and offered to split the cost. His request offended him, and so I offered to eat the entire cost. He was still angry and called me some rude names. He did leave and didn't tell me what hotel he was staying at or contact me about reimbursing him. He was supposed to return today, but he never did. We found out that he had already flown home. My wife is upset that her brother left and blames me. He didn't even talk to her before making this impulsive decision. I was just trying to maintain a working co-parenting relationship with my ex. My wife says I chose my ex over her, but I didn't mean to. I didn't know my brother-in-law would leave. Am I the idiot? You're the idiot for inviting your brother-in-law to stay with you and then kicking him out of the house and initially asking him to pay for half of the hotel bill. If your ex's concern was that she had never met this guy You could have asked her to switch weekends to a later date, or invited her over before the weekend to meet him. Also, you never told your wife that you were kicking her brother out of the house before going to him. That was also an idiotic move. You're prioritizing your ex over your new life. Just because she doesn't like something doesn't mean you have to jump at the chance to appease her. She can't withhold your kids from you. Your brother-in-law didn't just show up one day out of the blue, so you knew that you would have your kids when he would be there. Yet you wanted him to cover the bill, or at least half, after he had already been invited to stay. How awful. Is anyone looking at this from the wife's point of view? She's over there thinking, so I can't have my brother spend the night in my own home because my husband's ex doesn't approve? What the heck, OP? No wonder she's angry. I'd be livid. Maybe you should have taken your kids to a hotel since you're so dead set on honoring your ex's every whim, with no regard to how it affects others. Is your ex living with a new husband? Or have you told her that you're uncomfortable with your children living with a man that you've never met? If you think my question is stupid, then surely your ex's request is pretty ridiculous as well. Especially if you've met your brother-in-law before. It's manipulative of your ex, and I doubt it was about safety. It's about her being able to dictate what goes on in your home. They're your kids too. Are they just not allowed to bond with your wife or their stepmother's family ever? Stop letting your ex control your household. My wife is a teacher and refuses to work during breaks. She's 32 and I'm 31. We're both women. We live in a high cost of living city. We need to live in the city for her job because of union rules. I work from home about 40 to 45 hours a week at my main job. Then I work about 10 to 15 hours a week at a part-time job outside the home. I also help my brother with his business, which usually only takes about 4 hours a week, but he pays me. Recently, we've needed to adjust our budget a lot because of rising costs. We're trying to afford to put a down payment on a condo in the city closer to her school, which is in a more affluent neighborhood. We both have loans and medical issues that take up much of our budget. Our rent is going up and something has to give. Her commute is already about an hour each way. Because I work from home and my part-time job is close and only about 10 to 15 hours a week, she wants me to get another job. My brother can't offer me any more work than he's already giving me. I told her absolutely not, and that she needed to work over the summer and winter breaks instead. She became angry and said her job is extremely difficult, and I don't understand how much she needs those summers and winters off. I know that her job is tough, but she's claiming she needs the summer break. Otherwise she'll get burnt out and depressed. I'm already burnt out and depressed from working so much, and now she wants me to do even more. Some of my friends are saying I'm an idiot, because being a teacher is much harder than the jobs I have. Others are saying that she's the idiot because I'm already working multiple jobs, and she gets the summer and winter off. Am I the idiot for telling my wife I won't get a job and she needs to get another job? Not the idiot. You work up to 64 hours a week and she thinks you need a third job? I'm sorry, a fourth job? Jesus, even typing that makes me want to take a long nap. She's the idiot for insisting you work more than her and using her job as a reason for why that should be. Would she be willing to compromise on a smaller apartment? If not, then she needs to find ways to contribute in order to maintain our current lifestyle or achieve our goals. Why do teachers need their breaks over summer and winter? What other regular occupation gets several months off a year? Why don't other occupations need a break too? I'm sick and tired of this entitled teacher mentality. You clearly don't have time for yet another job. That's utterly ridiculous. Many teachers work over the summer. My kindergarten teacher painted houses, and I used to work at a jelly store in a tourist town where basically everyone else who worked there was a teacher or retired. Teaching isn't an easy job, and teachers do rack up a lot of hours, but she does have months of the year where the weekly hours are literally zero. It's selfish of her to ask her wife, who's a year-round 50-plus hour a week worker, to take on more jobs when for 2+ months of the year she doesn't work at all. My brother is getting married in May, My brother and I aren't very close and haven't been for a long time. I moved to another state over 13 years ago and he's never been here, met my husband or any of that. I just occasionally see him when I visit my grandma. I have met his fiancée a few times and she's fine. But we're just very different people with very different lives and priorities. She's great for my brother. He's happy and I'm happy for them. She is very high maintenance and is all about her dream wedding and being the princess. It's all she talks about and has been since they got engaged. She knew he was going to propose, so she got her hair and makeup done and hired a cameraman for the surprise proposal. She even has 4 of the pictures framed in her living room of her looking surprised. Anyways, she excitedly asked me to be a bridesmaid. And while weddings are really not my thing, we literally got married in the kitchen by some lady we found on the internet 2 days prior. I said yes because it seemed important to her, and I figured it would mean a lot to my brother. So I put on my helpful hat and jumped into the group chats. The group chats never stop, like ever. I'm expected to fly down for dress shopping and other important bridesmaid duties, including rehearsing a flash mob dance. Anyways, I got pregnant, and after everyone found out, my sister-in-law called me and told me the bridesmaid dresses she wanted to use for the wedding were going to be very form-fitting, and I probably wouldn't be comfortable being pregnant. She basically let me know I was no longer needed for the wedding party. But great news, I can still help with all the bridesmaid duties. Now here's where I may be the idiot. As she was going on about how I'd still be an honorary bridesmaid and I could still help with planning the showers and the bachelorette party, I cut her off. I was in a bad mood and said, look, honestly, I really didn't want to be in the wedding in the first place. So I'm actually relieved I don't have to deal with this anymore. Apparently, that upset her and made her cry, which led to an angry call from my brother, who said if I didn't apologize to her, I'm not invited to the wedding. So I'm considering not apologizing and not having to travel to be at the wedding at this point. So am I the idiot? Not the idiot. It sounds like you were very supportive. And then your sister-in-law tossed you aside because you were pregnant. She sounds like a handful, and then wants you to do the work anyway. Don't apologize unless she apologizes for treating you poorly. She kicked you out as a bridesmaid for being pregnant. If this were a job, it would be illegal. Seriously, who throws someone out of the wedding party but still expects them to do all the bridesmaid duties? The fact that she didn't even ask you if you would be comfortable in that dress or might want an alternative makes me think she's one of those bridezillas who expects her bridesmaids to all look the same. It doesn't matter if you popped her princess bubble. Just be glad you found out her true colors before the wedding. Glad you found an out. Disagree. A lot of people don't want to be a bridesmaid when they're heavily pregnant. The dress becomes a nightmare. She and OP aren't close. Sounds like she offered an out, but didn't want OP to feel like she couldn't be involved. Remember, we're reading this from OP's point of view, which is absolutely dripping with disdain and for some reason assumes negative intent at every step. Agree? I think you should have said no from the start if you don't like weddings at all, to save yourself from all this drama. Everything up until the conversation about the dress sounds pretty typical. However, you did blindside her by initially agreeing to be a bridesmaid and then rudely saying you never wanted to in the first place. It was more hurtful than necessary.